well because they're going to share the agenda with me this time. Yes. So, all right. We are, just so you know, taping this. Hello. We are going to embark on a new strategy for training and meetings to see if we can create a learning library. So we just have a new video camera, and we're going to see if it all works for this one. So this will be a test run. So careful, you're on video, whatever you say. All right, so let's run through the agenda really quick. Today we're going to do some agency updates. Usually our CEO, Matt Medaus, comes down for the agency update part, but he is actually on PTO today, so shame on him for camping. I will try to do a step in. We're going to do our staff welcome and recognition second. We usually start by saying, you know, whose first meeting is this, but we'll get there, so we're going a little out of order. I'm going to give you some region updates. We're going to do a quick health and safety reminder. It's been something we've been doing for months now. We're going to do some star awards, and then we're going to say goodbye. So pretty business oriented today. For those of you who've never been to one of these, feel free to participate, raise your hand, ask questions. Don't be shy. You will learn soon that no one here is very shy. All right, shall we get rolling? Cool. So, agency updates. I'm going to go through campus, Bayview, finances, and IT, and then I'm going to invite Ken, our chief of HR, up to do some HR updates. So, a couple things you guys might have noticed over email over the past couple of weeks regarding campus. We actually did have a closure of one of our cottages in our residential, Stowe. Basically, some of the reasons that moved us towards leading to a closure in Stowe. We had some staffing challenges as far as staffing for safety and keeping the numbers up based on we were having a pretty high level of acuity of kids being referred into that particular cottage. So we were having safety issues. There was an overall census drop in general. So that meant that the numbers were going down in that cottage naturally anyways. So a lot of shuffling around, a lot of looking at safety, a lot of looking at the numbers and thinking it's probably an opportunity to redeploy those staff, move staff into the different other cottages to staff those up to improve kind of safety and teams there. Some of the census was dropping anyways, and some of the kids were leaving Stowe anyways. So as the numbers were going down, it was, do we make a strong push to fill the cottage again, or do we use this as an opportunity to really look at what might be going on in the underlying issues, push pause, close the cottage for a minute, put staff in other positions, pad those teams a little bit on the other cottages, and just take a moment to breathe. So that's kind of what Stowe's doing. All of the staff that were in Stowe and all of the managers have been offered other positions, so we retained those staff. It wasn't like a cost-saving mechanism to get rid of staffing or any of that. It was really looking at the safety of Stowe and the programming of Stowe and deciding what would be the best bet before we reopen and start getting new youth in there. So some of the messaging came out through email. You guys get bombarded with email, so I don't know if you've even seen it, but we thought we would share that here and see if there were any questions. Any questions there? No? Any?
I was only going to say part of it, and this is something that we've seen over time, is that because so many residential places are closing, our acuity levels had gotten really high. And so, we can't, trying to staff in San Francisco at our counselor salaries is really tough, so we had to start making some decisions where we can maintain the safety of all the kids. We did have a lot of really tough kids over the year in Stowe, and we couldn't guarantee that we could maintain that safety level, so we had to start taking some action. And that's really the real underlying reason too.
Yeah, and for those of you who are new maybe to Edgewood or haven't really been around our campus very long, Stowe was an adolescent cottage, and so if you know anything kind of about the residential climate, a lot of residentials around the state for sure, but definitely all over the place have been closing, and we've been getting a lot of that overflow. So especially in a teen cottage, it was pretty difficult at times. One of the other changes on campus in a good way is that we're actually expanding our FCP model, our Family Connections model, which is A combination of residential and wrap, really. The idea is more short-term residential stays that always have a wrap overlay so that kids can actually transition back into the community faster with an existing team. So instead of having a residential team and then starting with a whole new wrap team, it's actually the same team that can bridge over both settings so that a shorter term stay in residential, the wrap team kind of transitioning them into the community, and then the ability to do stays if need be to respond to crisis, to kind of bounce back into a quick stay if need be, and then stabilize and come out for a period of time so that it's actually increasing the success rate, if you will, of coming out of residential successfully with a team embedded that already had been working with you, not starting with someone new. So we're actually doing an FCP expansion now, which is great. Pause on that. No? I think Matt usually does this section so much better. Okay, so let's see, Bayview. Quick update on Bayview, which is great, is that we've had an expansion in our kinship world down there. We are now able, through a new agreement, to serve kinship caregivers for our San Francisco-based youth who are out in other parts of the Bay Area, which is new for us, which is huge. So we don't just have to serve the caregivers that are in San Francisco County anymore. If they're living somewhere else, if a San Francisco youth goes to a kinship caregiver outside of San Francisco bounds, our kinship program can still serve them. So that's excellent. What else do I want to say? I'll bump over to finances. So right now we are wrapping up budget season. Our budget actually is taking a little bit longer this year. We're going to be shooting to be finalized with it by mid-August. We've been going back and forth, but it's looking like we're going to end last fiscal year with a loss to the agency financially. We had a bunch of challenges last year, including census in residential was on and off. We had some issues with note writing and billing related to EPSDT. So for some of you who don't know, or some of you who do, our non-public school and day treatment historically in our San Francisco-based programs, after the Medi-Cal audit that hit the county, and every county a couple years ago, all day treatments needed to unbundle their rates and unbundle their services, which meant that you started to write notes for individual mental health services for kids who were in day treatment. Well, we discovered this year, as our first year doing that actually meant that we didn't recoup our costs. Because once you unbundle and try to capture, you can't capture everything. Day treatment or non-public school is a really, full encompassing program that offers a lot of services that may not be able to be captured on an individual code or note. So we learned over the past year that hurt us. How's that for a summary? And not just us, but everybody else who unbundled it. It was a pretty substantial learning for everybody around how that would affect us. And really looking at our rates that we have with different contractors and really needing to renegotiate strongly on those rates. So all of those things have informed this next budget cycle, including strong rate negotiations with different counties and different contracts, looking at our NPS, rate structures, and all of that. So we're going to end last year probably at a negative, and it's setting us up for a different budget cycle moving forward and some pretty successful negotiations now with those contracts that actually need to increase their rates to cover what it truly costs to deliver the high-level service. So I'll pause on that. In this region, which I'll get to region updates, we ended our last year very, very well. So we did a really nice job last year when we looked at all of our census numbers and getting services in, our EPSDT billings, our contracts, our growth. We actually had a really great year last year. So that was really, really positive for our region. We just need to keep that going. So kudos to us. Yay! Let's see. Really quick on this one too. So we're finalizing the budget mid-August, and those of you who know Kishore, our past IT director, he is actually finalizing his time with us at the end of this month. He's been working on a ton of wrap-up projects to make sure that they are wrapped with a nice bow and handed over to the new IT director, who, by the way, has been hired. His name is Sanjay and is starting. He's been doing about, 4 or 5 weeks with us already, as a contractor, doing a full deep dive look at our portal system and all of our back-end processes. So he's starting with a leg up because he's already been, started, if you will, looking into our behind the curtain stuff for our portal and IT for about 4 or 5 weeks. So that should be a nice start. And then Pam Coca will still be our IT director over all things hardware, network, software. So Sanjay will take everything portal, including the India team, and Pam will still be over everything like phones, computers, VDI, all that. Questions on that? He's great. I met him. Nice guy. Gung-ho to start. I said, anybody who wants to dig around in Portal for 5 weeks and still wants to stay, you're good with me. So, all right. So that's it on my 3. I'm going to invite Ken up to talk a little bit about HR. I'm going to pass you a mic because we're recording.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm glad I could make it down here. I hadn't been able to, but as many of you know, we had pretty much no HR staff. We had Shadea in San Carlos, and I had Yolanda part-time in San Francisco, but after Armando left and Todd, and then following him Cynthia, those 2 jobs had been vacant for a long time until last week. So we now have a full HR staff, so it should free up my time to start moving forward on some of my whole HR strategy that I had put in place and then had to put on hold while I was dealing with all the day-to-day issues of HR. But now we're getting back on track. So I just wanted to give you an idea where some of the things are, where we're at. One of the things relating to notes, coming out on Friday, I'm going to have to be sending something out to everybody stressing the importance of notes. We leave a lot of money on the table because of notes, more in San Francisco and on campus, because we have a lot of residential people, a lot of aides in the schools and everything who are at kind of entry-level positions having to write some very complex notes. And so we're going to be looking at making sure we have adequate training for people and making sure we have adequate time. Actually, related to the Stowe cottage, we actually are finding that one of the complaints people had is finding time and space to write notes, because if they write it in the milieu, then they are being pulled into different things. So a lot of the time kind of goes away with them. So we're also going to be looking at potentially setting up space in Stowe for people to go write notes. So we're hoping that we can start capturing some of the money that we leave. The cap is pretty high on what we can collect, and we never get anywhere near there. So, so we are going to be sending some information out about some of the standards and how we're going to try to meet them. I also met with the union on Wednesday last week, because now many of our people on campus who do direct care are in the union. The union is going to work with us on trying to help find ways for people to write notes. We did explain that we will start taking discipline against people who refuse to write them, and so suddenly, with the union on our side, they started writing notes. So we did have some issues with people who thought that because the union came in that they were safe and we couldn't fire them, and I explained to the union they better communicate to them that they are wrong. So we have issues with notes, and we know they're complex, and we know that not everybody is capable, so we know we need to provide better training on that, and we're trying to look at ways of revising some of the training. Yeah.
And I just want to really highlight, the word that you are using is taking action because people were actively refusing.
Yes, it was because they were refusing, not because they weren't able. Yeah, no, we will provide what help they need to do their notes. So yeah, that we will do, but it's because people were actually, they literally were saying, you know, I'm not going to do them, and I'm in the union now, so you can't fire me. And so I told the union, you better make it clear to them that we will fire them, and they need to start doing it. If they need help, we'll give it to them. We have lots of resources, and we will make resources available. But notes are very important to us. It's how we bill, and it also is that whole quality issue to get the information in the client's chart. So that was one thing. Speaking of that, we are starting to do some work with the union. They have still not yet told us who the representatives are on campus and who's going to be representing about the 160 people that are covered by the union up at Vicente. They have not yet notified us of any desire to start the contract negotiations. We expect that they will do that by the end of summer, that we'll sit down and start looking at ground rules for negotiating. In the meantime, for us, it's business as usual. We cannot really make changes to employees' compensation or benefits or anything about their working conditions without notifying the union and giving them a chance to bargain. So a lot of the stuff that we'll be moving forward with right now are going to be for our non-union employees. And there's a couple of things that will be going on. I actually am going to meet with Sarah right after this to talk about some of the HR plans going forward so that we kind of address some needs. One of them is going to be the annual evaluations. There has been a lot of anticipation for the annual anticipations to get done, and evaluations. We were hoping that we could do them as we end each fiscal year, that we could have them done. What we did during the Joint Commission, we discovered that there were so few evaluations done over the past few years, and most files don't have anything in them. So my goal was to try to find a way to really simplify that process. The original intent of an employee annual evaluation is to just give people feedback and have discussions about how they're doing, what they need help with, how we can move forward, and how they can set goals for the coming year. I wanted to get very much down to basics, get rid of a lot of the different complexity in the design, and just do something simple that actually will make people do it. So I'd rather have a simple form that we can get done instead of a complicated one that people resist completing. So I have, the executive team has been reviewing it, so I think next week is our leadership, agency leadership team meeting. I will present it to them on Friday next week, and then the following week we'll distribute them, and we'll look for the month of August to have people completing evaluations in a much more simple format, starting with the employees doing their own evaluation. And I will have lots of guidelines as to what to do when people have dual assignments, or they switch supervisors, or different events that occur during the year that may impact how the evaluations are written. But there will be some training going on around that after next week, just because I know that's something that's been anticipated for a while, and because I didn't have time, we weren't moving forward on things too quickly. Now we're getting back on track. There was, what else did you have?
Those were 3.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I ask, what's the name of the union?
It's the Teamsters, Local 852. Yeah, 856, I'm sorry. Yeah. The union does not have a lot of social service work, and so they have 3 small agencies that have nothing to do with the kind of work we do. So actually they're going through an education period themselves right now. They don't know what we do, and unfortunately what they do know was given, the information was given to them by a couple of employees who really were not, I don't know how to say it, but they were kind of leaning they were very biased in the information they provided, so the union went in with some ideas that were really inaccurate, and so I'm re-educating them right now. Yeah. It is. It is a new world, and we have a new partner, and we will find a way to make it work.
Yeah, everyone just wants a better. All right. So, questions on that? Our intent, just so you know, on annual reviews, we've been talking as a leadership team, is not only to make it a more simple form so that it's easier to use, but actually something that gets used beyond that whole like, hey, set some goals, and then what did we do the whole year? Let's set some new goals. So the intent that the leadership's been really talking about is how do we actually have a process that lives and breathes throughout the year, that ties into a learning and development plan, that ties into an HR strategy, that ties into an individual development plan, and it gets used, and goals get looked at again and again and again and again. So
yeah, one thing to add is that part of the reason that it can be so simple in the annual evaluation is because we have other tools that are going to be used as we go forward. There's going to be a whole workforce planning kind of exercise for managers to look at skills that they need and how to develop them. And I'll be working with the training on how to do that. And there also are going to be the competency pieces that need to be done for Joint Commission. So there are different vehicles to use outside of the annual evaluation, so we're able to make it more simple and have it more of a interactive kind of discussion on work accomplishments and achievements and goals and development needs.
Yep.
Really.
Yeah. Thank you. Any questions before we move on? All right. So from business, let's go to fun. So, staff recognition. First, I want to recognize we have many new staff. I'm hoping some of them are in the room, but you don't even have to be new or old to know, like looking around here, there are new faces almost every day, which is awesome. We are actively hiring for growth and saying goodbye to some and hello to others. And so wanted to just put the names up of some of the new faces. And if this is your very first all staff meeting, you get the opportunity, yay, to raise your hand, stand up, tell us who you are and who you're working for. Which program? I know there's new faces in this room. Stand up. Yay! Welcome. All right. use your camp counselor voice and let us know who you are.
My name is Jackie Berrios, and I'm new here. I'm a clinician on the safety team. So
Welcome. Thank you.
I'm Nicole Baboops. I'm going to be school-based mental health behavior support specialist.
Excellent. Yay, welcome.
Hey everybody, my name is Amy Scholl, and I am the third school-based mental health manager here.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Angelina, and I'm with the collaborative program.
Yay, welcome.
I'm Rebecca, I'm also with the collaborative.
Welcome.
I'm Betty, and I'm with the collaborative.
Yes. Welcome.
Hi, Lauren, clinician and setting.
Welcome. Woo! I'm glancing. Did we get everybody? Oh, I think we did. Okay. So since we've said hello, there's actually many more names on here. So if you find somebody whose face you don't know walking through the hallways, please introduce yourself. Welcome them into our family. All right. So going to give it over to Jennifer. She's going to talk a little bit about who our employees of the month have been, and then we're going to leave some time for open appreciations. Karen, you're back. There you go.
All right, so I get to recognize the people who were the employees of the month for June and July. All right, sorry. It's new. So for June, one of our rock stars was Colin. So I don't know, are we supposed to get people to stand up or Colin? And Danielle was our, what was she? She was our great visualizer. And I got to share the Rockstar honor with Colin. So. And for July, oh, sorry. I was gonna walk that way. For July, we have our rock star as Jose Milan. Is he here? No? No, Jose? All right, well, congratulate him again if you see him in the halls. And Valentina. Yay! And she was also one of our rock stars. And our great visualizer for July is Stephanie. Stephanie Long. All right. And when are the nominations due for the next round?
Paul, when are the nominations due for August? Shane?
By next Tuesday, please.
Next Tuesday. So get all your nominations in by next Tuesday for August. All right. And then open appreciations?
Yes.
We're doing that too?
Yes.
All right. So.
What they are?
Sure. All right, so for new folks in the room, we like to take some time to just kind of openly acknowledge some of the people that are either on our teams or across programs in a very public way. So it's kind of embarrassing for them because they have to get up and hear and take in all of the positive feedback. And our rule is that we can't have any immediate reciprocation. So you just have to kind of take it in uncomfortably and be acknowledged, and then you get to sit down. So those are kind of the rules. All right. So we have any takers?
Who wants to start?
Yeah. Who gets to start?
I'll take one right off, since I get to participate. I want to offer a huge shout out and thank you to Tara specifically, because we couldn't have had our Tuesday event, which we're totally going to roll through some slides in a minute, our Tuesday event at the Giants game without her. She did all of the coordination. Couldn't do it, but it was a lot of fun. So thank you. Yep.
Karen?
I wanted to thank Molly Mullen. She has been an excellent clinical supervisor, really supportive, and just we talked about how you are and how receptive you are to us, and just willing to also allow us to work in the way that we work. But I just really want to thank you so much for that.
Alexis?
So Karen took the words out of my mouth because I was actually going to go to Molly. I just want to thank you for everything that you do for us, advocating for us, really listening to what goes on in supervision. Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Oh,
Yeah, I want to thank you because I admire your clinical skills and I admire the way that you're able to walk the path with us and help us realize what we need to work on and what we're doing great. And it's been really a pleasure working with you. I have only admiration for you and it's been fantastic and I'm going to miss you so much. Thank you very much.
Anybody else going to recognize Molly? All right, you can recognize somebody else.
Okay, so I want to recognize Stephanie. I really appreciate the way that you reach out for help and ask questions, and you're not afraid to say, I don't get that, or that doesn't make any sense. I learned a lot from you in just the short time I've gotten to work with you, so I really appreciate that.
I see Danielle creeping up.
So I want to recognize, well, Amanda first off, she had moved roles in our program intake to management, and you can send it to me for the full effect. And yeah, she's been phenomenal. Even moving into her new role, she still remained very much so in her intake administration help. When I was out for a couple weeks, she just took everything and ran with it. She's such a go-getter, self-starter. She's always working on everything that she could possibly think of to work on, and she's just phenomenal. She's a great team member. And that being said, I also want to thank Tara. She's helped us tremendously with planning our training week that we're preparing for when our staff come back the first week of August. And the two of them have just been amazing. They could run, a small country or
That's cool, babe. Anybody else? Sarah?
I don't know where she is, but I wanted to appreciate Dana.
Oh, she's not here.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about her anyway.
Yeah.
She's awesome. She's only been here for a little while, but she's like one of those people who can wave her hand and things are organized and they make sense and they're where they belong. So I really appreciate that, and it's been a big help for everyone on the FSP, which is a lot of people. So thanks, Dana.
Amy?
It's my third week. I want to thank all the people who have been so helpful in getting me just on board. There's so much to learn and know. Danielle and Amanda, I text these ladies 75 times a day. Thank you so much for all your responses to my emails and helping me just feel so comfortable. And Erica Jennings, thank you also for your support. It's been a really nice welcoming. And I'm excited to be here.
Anybody else? Oh, yes?
I would like to acknowledge Marie because she's a great team member, team player, and she's always willing to support us with her knowledge. And even though sometimes she's not in the youth team, she always supports us, and she's very helpful.
All right. Thank you, Yolanda. Oh, I see Shane.
I want to acknowledge Jamila. I didn't realize how much I missed you until you came back. She's such a great mentor, and she has this amazing ability to break things down to brass tacks and redirect me in the proper direction. And I so appreciate that, and I'm so happy to talk with you.
Cindy.
to acknowledge Mary Therese. I'm still new in this family support coordinator role, and whereas before I just had to figure out what I was doing, now I have to figure out what 3 of us are doing. And so I have been blatantly stealing these amazing spreadsheets and word tables that she created for the specialists, and totally stealing them and reconfiguring them for my purposes. And it's great. It's like I knew kind of what I wanted, but the way that you have of kind of putting information into these great formats, it's saved me. So thank you.
So I want to thank Shane. So on top of everything that Shane does to keep us all on track here and kind of keep all the facilities running and fix the HVAC and rearrange the kitchen and you name it, she has been tirelessly for weeks now setting up our new office, which we're going to hear a lot more about and see pictures of. But it's a whole nother person's job. So you have been just killing it, making sure that we are moving into a beautiful new space that has everything thought of, so that people are comfortable. And I'm so excited that you're here. You're awesome.
Well, and you have to also acknowledge.
No, you don't get to. Stop.
That's against the rules. All right. Anybody else besides Shane? Tina?
I would like to recognize Marie. I was out on leave a couple weeks ago, and Marie took on extra duties, and essentially really helped mentor our other 2 case managers, and I just want to really let them know how appreciative I was of that.
I just wanted to thank Erica Jennings for being so supportive with this transition. We're coming from Star Vista, and definitely it's been a very smooth transition and very helpful. And also, thank you and everyone else that I might have missed for making us feel welcome and making this transition smooth. Thank you.
For all the support, the new building, and just keeping the things sane around here.
I see no more hands. Nobody's jumping up. Oh, okay, one more.
I want to acknowledge 3 of our coordinators, Diana and Ashley and Autumn. I don't think Autumn's here right now, but these 3 ladies have done a really great job providing the services that they were, are meant to provide in their job and helping our program really create some amazing contracts with districts that we're working with. But also, I think as some changes have occurred, they've done a really wonderful job of maintaining their professionalism, their positivity, their dedication to not only our program, but Edgewood as an agency, their patience, their, the demeanor and everything. And I know that there's been changes that have been difficult, and I really want to acknowledge the fact that they have a wonderful work ethic, a great spirit, and a lot of dedication to our agency. And thank you to both of you.
All right. Who am I passing the mic to?